my topic today is the introduction to the GBA and the relevant preferential policies. Yeah. I guess as early as 4 or 5 years ago, maybe the Greater Bay Area maybe not quite familiar to many people. But I think the idea, the concept of GBA first surfaced in a State Council policy paper issued in March 2016. In that paper, it suggests the major cities in the region, including Hong Kong, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, and Macau, had their own advantages, and therefore should be more complementary in the near future. So the plan is to further foster greater economic cooperation and infrastructure development in the city cluster. However, I think the idea of GBA did not draw much public attention until it was mentioned in the Premier's annual work report delivered in the March 2017. In this report, Premier Li said the authorities would push on with the GBA concept, which means that the plan has been elevated to a national strategic level. Well, before I formally introduce the GBA, I would like to ask a question. Does anybody know that how many free trade zones in China? Yeah, here you can see a map in my slides. The highlighted part in yellow indicates the free trade zones. And if you count in detail, you can see that actually there are 21 free trade zones in China. And here is a timeline. You could clearly see in which year the free trade zone was set up. And as you can see, the first free trade zones in China is set up in Shanghai in the year 2013. Then in 2015, another 3 free trade zones were established in China, respectively in Guangdong province and Tianjin city and Fujian province. As you may already know that the Guangdong Free Trade Zone includes the Nansha new area in Guangzhou, Shenzhen Qianhai, and the Zhuhai Hengqin new area. And moving forward, in March 2017, there are another 7 free trade zones established in provinces like Liaoning, Zhejiang, Henan, Hubei, Sichuan, Shanxi, and Chongqing City. And then in July 2017, as I just mentioned, the GBA concepts were firstly set out in the annual policy report. And then in October 2018, the Chinese policymakers decided to categorize the entire province of Hainan Island as a free trade zone. And by the way, some of you may note that just in June 2020, the government just rolled out a master plan laying out a series of special policies in order to develop Hainan province into a high-level free trade port. And then in August 2019, in Shandong province, Jiangsu, Guangxi, Hebei, Yunnan, and Heilongjiang, there was the set up several free trade zones in these areas. And in September last year, there are another 3 free trade zones set up in Beijing, Beijing City, Hunan province, and Anhui province. Okay, so that's all the 21 free trade zones in mainland China. Okay, these are the main contents. Sorry. Okay, these are the main contents I would like to share with you today. Okay. First of all, let's see what is the Greater Bay Area? What is GBA? As you may know, Guangdong Province, as southern China's economic center, has topped the GDP ranking of all provinces for nearly 3 decades. Guangdong Province has been working towards further integration with Hong Kong and already established several state-level economic development zones, which have attracted large amounts of foreign investment. So Guangdong actually is one of the leading industrial provinces of China, and Guangdong holds the largest share of China's electronics industry, which comprises almost 40% of the province's total industrial output. Okay, here is the picture showing the opening ceremony taken in July the 1st, 2017. It's the signing ceremony of the framework agreement on deepening Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau cooperation in the development of the Bay Area. And then in 2018, China released its blueprint for the development of the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau Great Bay Area, which aimed to integrate and transform 9 mainland cities in the Pearl River Delta and 2 special administrative regions, Hong Kong and Macau, into an international Bay Area that will rival with other international city clusters. As you already know, there are Great Bay Areas like the New York, San Francisco, and the Tokyo Bay Areas. So what is the coverage of GBA? We say that GBA includes 9 cities and 2 special administrative regions. As you can see in the map on the left side. And the total area of the GBA is 56,000 square kilometers. And its population reaches around 150 million. This is the figure of 2020. And the GDP reaches RMB 11 trillion. So we could conclude that actually Guangdong has been in a leading position with respect to financial services, technology, and advanced manufacturing, heavy industry, and modern services. Although the population only accounts for the whole nation's population, only accounts for maybe less than 10%, but actually the GBA actually produced the GDP almost exceeding 12% of the whole nation's GDP. Yeah. Okay. The framework agreement on deepening Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau cooperation in the development of the GBA. We say it stipulates the objectives, cooperation principles, and focus areas in formulating the related regulatory arrangement. So let's see what are the objectives, principles, and focus areas. For the objectives, the first one is strengthening the role of Guangdong as a drive of national reform and an engine of economic development, and to build a base for technology and innovation center and advanced manufacturing and modern services. The second one is enhancing Hong Kong's position as the international finance, shipping, and trading centers, and strengthening its role as a global offshore RMB business hub and international asset management center, facilitating the development of professional service and innovation and technology businesses, and building an international legal and dispute resolution center for the region. And the third one is for Macau, is to promote the construction of Macau as world-class tourism and recreational center, building a platform for business cooperation and ensuring the moderately diversified and sustainable development of Macau's economy. And the overall objective is to build the GBA into a more vibrant economic region, a location with the best quality for living, working, and visiting, around a top international Bay Area and with global standard. And secondly, how about the cooperation principles? We said that there are 5 principles. The first one is an open approach to lead, innovation driven. If you look at the outline plan in detail, you can see that the wording innovation is mentioned many times in the outline plan. And second one is complement with strengths, collaborate to win. And the third one is market driven with the support of government. So it means the government authorities would provide great support to boost the economy of GBA. And the fourth one is pioneer to change with focused breakthrough. And the last one is environment is priority. Go green is the key. Yeah. Whatever the economy develops, the key is to protect the environment, to go green. Yeah, go green. Yeah. And the focus areas. The first one is to promote infrastructure interconnection. Sorry. Further improve the level of market integration. The third one is to build an international technology and innovation center. The fourth one is to set up a modern industrial system of collaborative development. The fifth is to build a quality community for living, working, and touring. And the sixth, cultivating the new advantages in international cooperation. And the last one is to support the construction of a massive cooperative platform. Okay, we just say that the Chinese authorities unveiled the outline development plan for the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Great Bay Area, aiming to develop the region into a role model of high quality development. So the plan as a very important outline document guiding the current and future cooperation and the development of GBA. It covers the period from now to 2022 in the short term and extends to 2035 in the long term. And as you can see from the slides, their strategic positioning from the following 5 aspects. The first positioning is to build a vibrant world-class city cluster. The second one is to providing solid support to the Belt and Road Initiative. And the third one is to build an international innovation and technology hub with global influence. And the fourth one is to advance Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau cooperation platforms. And the last one is to build a quality living circle for living, working, and traveling. Well, We already know what is the GBA, the definition, the goal, and the strategic positioning. And then I would like to show you the some relevant preferential policies in the GBA. Okay, let's first see the preferential policies in the GBA from the financial support perspective. Actually, I'd like to introduce the finance support from based on the following 3 circulars recently published by the government authorities. The first one is the famous INFA 2020 number 95. For your ease of reference, I just retrieved some paragraphs in the circular for your reference. Promoting facilitation of cross-border trade, investment and financing in the GBA, and enhancing facilitation in exchange between RMB and foreign currencies and the use of cross-border circulation. As you know, that in China, there are very strict foreign exchange control. So how to facilitate the cross-border transactions, how to make the cash flow easier for the business. So I think those are the very important works for the government to make efforts on. So the circular tries to call for the efforts from the government to promoting the facilitation of cross-border trade, investment, and financing in the GBA, so as to boost the economy of this area. Besides, to facilitate the formalities on some bank formalities, it allows the qualified non-bank debtors in the GBA areas to directly complete the formalities for the registration of foreign loan with banks and to cancel the time limits for mainland enterprises in the GBA to complete the formalities for the registration of foreign loan. Let me explain in detail what this means. You know, in some areas, other than in the GBA area, to borrow the foreign loan from the bank may be very difficult. You have to go through lots of bank procedures, and maybe providing much more documents for their scrutiny. But maybe in the GBA area, the banks will provide more convenient and more smooth procedures for you to go. Then you can save the time and save the possible time cost and the cost of the fundraising. And the government intends to carry out some pilot program of cross-border investments, such as in private equity investment funds. They will allow institutional investors from like in Hong Kong and Macau to participate in the investment in private equity investment funds or venture capital enterprises in the GBA area. Through qualified foreign limited partners, as you see the QFLP, orderly promote the pilot program of qualified domestic limited partners, QDLP, and qualified domestic investment enterprises, QDIE, and support the overseas investment by private equity investment funds in the mainland China. Okay, actually, this circular in the same time aims to provide facilities for the enterprises set up in GBA, and on the other hand, to provide to loosen some restrictions on the foreign banks or other financial institutions. And the second one is expanding the opening up of the financial industry and deepening the financial cooperation between the mainland China and Hong Kong or Macau. As you may be aware, that in the past we have many restrictions on the setting up of foreign banks or insurance companies or other investment institutions. But now the new regulation encourages various types of qualified banks, securities industry, or insurance institutions to expand their business in the GBA by establishing new entities or branches here. So the purpose is to open up the financial industry in this area. And the third one is to promote the diversification of financing channels among Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau, and facilitating the interconnection between financial markets and financial infrastructure. And the second circular is 粤会发 2020 number 15. This circular is published by the Guangdong and the Shenzhen State Administration of Foreign Exchange, SAFE. The circular regulates that to cancellate the foreign loan registration on a case-by-case basis. That means the procedure can be simplified to save the time and the financial cost of the enterprises who want to borrow foreign loan with the bank, and allow enterprises to adjust the selected foreign loan management model. I want to explain here, as you may know that in the past, the foreign loan, it has a quota. The quota is equals the difference between the total investment amount less the registered capital. But now the enterprises could adjust the calculation method. There is a new method for the foreign enterprises to calculate the possible loan they can borrow from overseas with the bank. The third one is simplify the payment procedures for domestic funds under capital accounts in the GBA, and combines payment order letter and the domestic remittance application. So this is the rules to simplify the procedures. And the third circular is 粤会发 2020 number 18, also published by Guangdong SAFE. And this circular is especially set forth for the high-tech and the new enterprise registered in GBA, but except in Shenzhen city. The circular said that eligible high-tech enterprises in the pilot areas can independently borrow foreign loans within a quota of no more than $5 million. Okay, so just we introduced the policies from finance support perspective. Now we can see the policies from for setting up headquarters and introducing talents in the GBA. For setting up headquarters, we take Shenzhen as example. There are rewards for newly settled headquarters, and there are subsidies for renting and buying houses for the newly settled headquarters, and for the senior management personnel and professional and technical core personnel at headquarters, they can apply for some support fund to enjoy some incentives as well. And for talents working in Shenzhen, you can see that there is talent cultivation platforms for Shenzhen and Hong Kong cooperation. And there are many innovation in talent admission mechanism to relax the practice threshold for professionals from Hong Kong and Macau. And there are talents mobility programs that provide convenience for foreign talents to apply for permanent residency or work visa. And the last one is the foreign talents can have the right to apply for the IT subsidy, which we will introduce in detail in the last part. And for other supporting policies, you can see that the government will provide continuous government services for high-end talents in terms of housing, communications, education of children, and the medical care. Actually, there are many preferential policies for setting up headquarters and foreign talents in different cities of the GBA. So if you want to set up entities in different cities, you may ask for the policies from professional firms like us, or you can log on to the website of government to check the rules. Okay, then I would like to introduce the policies in different cities, three typical cities like Guangzhou, Shenzhen, and Zhuhai. So we take Guangzhou Nansha as example. From tax perspective, there are many tax preferential policies. The first one is a very new rule just published in last October. That is the VAT exemption on international shipping insurance business. What does it mean? It means if a insurance company registered in Guangzhou, if they provide insurance services to the enterprises registered in Nansha area, then the income on international shipping insurance can be exempted from VAT. And the second one is tax refund on export sales upon the departure from the port. As you maybe already know that for the export sales, they can be exempted from VAT. But how can the VAT refund arrive at the enterprise account? Maybe the enterprise have to submit lots of filing returns and applications. So for the time, it may take a long time for them to finally obtain the tax refund. But this new rule, it allows that the enterprises, once meeting certain requirements, they can just apply for the tax refund upon their goods departed from the departure port. I mean the port of departure is still within the mainland China. is like within the Nansha area or Qianhai area. So this new tax incentive, it aims to shorten the cash flow, shorten the time for the enterprises to apply for the tax refund. Yeah, to mitigate the effect of the cash flow. And the third one is the IT subsidy. As you can see, this also effective in Guangzhou, Shenzhen, and other cities. So the second one is industrial support. Actually, in Nansha area, it will encourage enterprises engaged in some like AI industry, artificial intelligence, life and health industry to set up in this area. Based on the data from the website, we can see that there are more than 200 enterprises set up in this area, specialized in the artificial intelligence. And in this area, Nansha government also creates the first international talent special zone in Nansha area, and it provides some special funds for the high-end talents. And you can also see other supports in this area, like e-process and cross-border business services, and innovation in cross-border tax services. We already know that in the past, if we want to do some formalities with like AIC or tax bureau, maybe we have to personally go to the counter of the authorities to submit the required documents. But now we have much more simplified procedures, and sometimes we can just fill in the online forms and submit online. Yeah, so there's some innovation here, and still Nansha government and sign some alliance agreement with Hainan government. To they decided to have some collaboration in some areas to together boost the economy of this area. And for Shenzhen, Qianhai, from tax perspective, maybe you already know that Qianhai authority granted some favorable CIT rates of 15% to some enterprises specialized in the qualified scope. There are a very detailed catalog to which enterprises are eligible for such favorable CIT rates. And still, they have the tax refund policy on export sales upon the departure from the port, and as well as the IT subsidy. And as for the industrial support, you can see there's special funds for comprehensive pilots of modern service industry and legal service industry. And there are still some talent development funds. And other support, as we just mentioned, if you set up headquarter enterprise in Shenzhen, you can apply for some subsidy support from the government. And there are also some special rules for setting up the equity investment fund. Okay, then for Zhuhai, Hengqin, from tax perspective, I think the tax policies are just the same as in Shenzhen. They have VAT and consumption tax exemption and favorable CIT rate and IT subsidy. And as for the fiscal subsidy, you can see that they have special supports for listed enterprises. And they still have special talent awards and office rental subsidies. But the subsidy is always granted for the technology-based companies because they encourage the innovation and the scientific technology. And they also support for the resumption of production after the disaster. And the industrial support, they also have some supportive policy for headquarter enterprises and for financial industry, tourism industry, and advertising industry, and technology innovation industry, and some green and low carbon industry and healthcare industry. Okay, then we finally arrived at the last part. We will introduce the IT preferential policy for overseas talents working in the GBA. I guess maybe it is of the greatest interest to all of you. Okay, so this IT preferential policy is firstly introduced by the Circular 2019 number 31, individual income tax incentives for Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Area. So this reform policy is set out especially for the overseas high-end talents and the critical lacking talents working in the GBA. And the GBA coverage the 9 cities as we just mentioned previously. And the term is 5 years from 2019 to 2023. So let's see what are the requirements of applicants. We said that there are some basic requirements. First of all, the talents, they should be categorized as high-end talents or critically lacking talents. So you may ask how to recognize whether I am a high-end talents or critical lacking talents. Maybe you could look for the implementation rules for different cities, because in the 9 cities, different cities, the government announced different implementation rules. So you could search for the rules, comparing to the catalog to check whether you are meeting the requirements. And as for the employees, they have to be either the foreign citizens or permanent residents of Hong Kong or Macau, or residents of Hong Kong under the admission scheme for talent professionals and entrepreneurs, or residents from Taiwan, or Chinese citizen that studies or lives abroad and has a long-term resident permit in another country. And the talents have to work and pay taxes pursuant to the PRC law in the 9 cities and abide by all laws and scientific research ethics and act with integrity. Okay, so how to calculate the IT refund? We just list a detailed formula here. Actually, the formula is very quite simple. The subsidy amount equals the amount of the IT payment in the 9 cities less the amount of taxable income multiplying the 15%, which means that if you actually pay the tax amount is exceeding the amount of taxable income multiplying the 50%, then you can apply for the subsidy with the relevant government. And here I want to mention that for the IT payment, it refers to IT paid on income from wages and salaries and income from remuneration for personal services, or income from others' remuneration, or income from royalties, or income from business operation, and income from subsidies for selected talents project or talent programs. And the subsidy. One point I want to raise is that you know, in some cities like in Shenzhen, maybe together with the subsidy policy, they have other supportive fund policies for the high-end talents. Maybe if you apply for one special fund, you may lose the right to again apply for the subsidy amount. What I mean is maybe you cannot apply for the for the subsidy and other supportive fund at the same time. So that's the point I want to point out. And for the if the foreign talents has successfully obtained the IT subsidy or refund, based on the rule, the IT subsidies is exempted from IT. So this is another good news for the overseas talents. Okay, maybe the rules are a bit boring. Then let's look at a case study to better understanding how the IT preferential policy works in the GBA. Let's see a case. So we take Mr. A as an example. So Mr. A, he holds French nationality. He is an AI, artificial intelligence engineer in a scientific research institution in Guangzhou. His working days in Guangzhou are 200 days for year 2020. He paid IT in accordance with the law and complied with laws and regulations, research ethics, and research integrity. So for year 2020, the following items were calculated for IT purpose. Like wages and salaries, the annual amount is 1 million RMB. And he also earned income from others' remuneration, 60,000 RMB. And he is entitled to the annual special deduction of RMB 38,000 and a special additional deduction of RMB 36,000. Okay, so the question is, do you think Mr. A is eligible for the GBA IT subsidy, and how to calculate the detailed amount? So first of all, we can see that no doubt he's a foreigner, right? He holds the French nationality, and he works in Guangzhou, and his position is an AI engineer in a scientific research institution. If you look at the catalog of qualified high-end talents in Guangzhou City, you can understand that actually for the AI engineer, he has he could meet the requirements. And for the working days in the year 2020, the number of days has exceeded 90 days. So we could give a preliminary conclusion that he is entitled to apply for such IIT subsidy. And how to calculate the IIT subsidy? Okay, let's move to the next slide. We say that we shall combine the his wages and salaries and his income from the author's remuneration together to calculate the IIT, and less the special deduction items and special additional deduction items, and the annual deduction amount of 60,000 RMB. Then we get the amount of taxable income, the 899K. And then we could calculate the taxes paid in 2020. It's 222K. And how to calculate the IIT subsidy? So it's the IIT burden difference, the tax paid less the taxable income, multiplying the 15%. Then we get the 87K. So this is all the amounts he can apply for the refund from with the government authorities. Yeah, and once he obtained the funds, the refund is still exempted from the IIT again. Yeah. So so maybe you will ask how to apply for such refunds. So here you can see some basic rules for the application period. For the application of 2019, we have already assisted our clients in applying for such refund last year in July and August. Some cities may begin much earlier in July, but in some cities like Shenzhen, they just begin the application in August. And the application platform authority, basically for the high-end talents, they have to submit the application documents to the Human Resource and Social Security of the PRC, Science and Technology Bureau. And the application documentation normally can be filled in with there is an online platform, and you can submit them through the platform. But for some cities, maybe together with the online application, you may have to submit some documents on the in the front of the counter of the authorities. And how about the application documents? Here we listed some key documents. like applicant's identity certificate, like passport or other certificates, and the tax record of the applicant. Basically, if you apply for the application online, you have to prepare a tax serial number that you can obtain the number from the tax authority. Then you input the number in the system. Then the tax records can be transferred to the platform automatically. And the third one is commitment letter of the applicant to show to commit that the applicant has no crimes or other misbehaviors. And the fourth one is application form, and the fifth one is the label contract or other documentations. The label contract sometimes may indicate the working period of the applicant, so they can indicate that maybe the applicant has worked locally for more than 90 days during the tax year. And still, the applicant should prepare in place and his own CV, and sometimes the diplomatic certificates. And the applicant should open a local bank account. So when the application is approved, then the refunds can arrive at the bank account. If the applicant only have the foreign or overseas bank accounts, the bank account cannot receive the amount. Okay, so these are all the contents I would like to share with you today. So this is the some scope of our firm, the tax scope. We can help our clients to in the corporate tax or individual income tax perspective, to help on the tax compliance, tax planning, and transfer pricing perspectives. So if you have any questions related to PRC tax, you can feel free to reach us. Okay. So,
thank you very much, Sunny.
Thank you. Thank you. So if you have any questions.
Do you have some questions? People looking at the webinar can also send their question in the chat.
Yes. For Chinese students that study overseas, is there any preferential policies for them? Citizens that doesn't have a permanent resident permits for other countries.
So, do you mean which kind of documents or supporting documents to indicate that he has permanent residency?
I mean, like if I were only Chinese students that studied overseas, is there any preferential, for example, like tax reduction or any policies that attract them, for example, just stay in the Greater Bay Area?
I think to study abroad is a very preliminary requirement, but to apply for the refund, you may have other experiences, because you have to meet other requirements. For example, if someone is still a Chinese citizen, but he studied in America, and they got the maybe the doctor, and then if he's working in Shenzhen, he has to be granted as a very high level position in a maybe high tech enterprises. Then he will have the chance to apply for the refund. Yeah.
Thank you for your answers.
Kathy, question? Another question? Hello, Sammy. I have a question on the foreign loan you just mentioned. You mentioned there was a quota for the foreign loan previously, and could you specify the new policy and the calculation method for the new policy?
To be honest, I cannot recall what the formula is, but I can provide it to you after our meetings. Yeah, but I think there is a brand new formula to calculate the quota. Yeah, it should be based on the financial performance of your company. Yeah, you have to show the bank the financial statement to check the profits and the return earnings, something like that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. And I have the second question on the IIT subsidy. Do you think there is a special procedure to recognize what is the talent highly demand? Is it a person should obtain any authorization from any bureau to recognize such a person is a talent?
Yes, I think this is based on different rules of different cities, because in some cities like in Dongguan or Guangzhou, maybe the foreign talent only host the senior management position and with a high level diplomatic certificates. Then even if maybe some recognition from the government, they can still have the chance to apply for the refund. Yeah, but we understand that of all the cities, I think for the Shenzhen city, they have the highest requirements for granting such IT refund. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Another question?
One more. Thank you so much for your nice presentation. I have a general question. Do you think the pandemic situation in China and worldwide will influence somehow the implementation of those nice rules and tax regulations?
Sorry, can you repeat your questions?
Yes, sure. Do you think the pandemic situation in China and abroad and worldwide will influence somehow the implementation of those rules and regulations or plans as well?
Sorry, maybe I still missed some. You mean which factors will have influence?
The COVID-19 virus.
Oh, yeah. I got you. Sorry. Yeah, actually, when we helped our clients for the application of last year, we are afraid of that maybe the government will have maybe they're short of the enough financial funds to help support the policies. based on our observation and our past experience for last year, basically once the applicants meet the requirements, they can obtain the refund at last. Maybe it will take them more than 1 or 2 months. Maybe they have to wait about half a year to obtain the funds. But finally, at last, they obtain them. Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, I can say that definitely there are some affections, but somehow maybe at last the government will support the policies. Yeah, maybe it's a time. It's a question of time. Yeah.
I just want to know.
Another question?
Will this presentation be shared with the participants after the meeting?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great.
I just have one last question. Does the application follow rolling basis? Like, is it that as long as the applicant meets all the requirements, he will for sure get grants, or there's a quota for it? Is there a limitation of like people that can get the grant for each year, or like it's just like if I meet the requirements, I will for sure get it?
Based on the rules for last year, if for some reasons the applicants, either employees or their employers, they maybe they missed the deadline or forgot to submit the applications, they still have the chance to apply for it in this year. Yeah. But if they again miss the deadline this year, they cannot have the chance to apply for the refund for the year 2019 in the year 2021. Yeah.
The question was, is there any quota per year?
I think based on the public regulations, we are not aware of any quota granted by the government. Yeah, but I'm not quite sure whether internally the government authority will have any quota on this. Yeah.
Thank you.
And is there a minimum wages to apply?
Oh yeah. For the talents, they in some cities they different have different the minimum limitations on the wages. No, not on the wages, but on the taxable income. For example, in Guangzhou, the annual taxable income should exceed the RMB 300K. But in Shenzhen, for my memory, it seems 500K annually. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other question? Other question? No? No? Any question? No. No. So thank you very much, Sunny, for this very good presentation.
Okay, thank you all for your time joining this seminar. Thank you.
And thank you everyone for joining us today.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.